we can make it available for viewing later. So that is starting now, and we are going to get started. So this is the Summit Experience webinar, so our on-site high adventure program here at the Summit. Like I mentioned before, this meeting is being recorded. A quick note on questions and answers this evening. So in order to send a question, if you will throw that question in the chat, we will monitor the chat and answer those questions as best we can during the meeting. We will also have a question and answer session at the end of the meeting where we hang around and answer any questions that you have. Please feel free to stick around at the end to listen if you don't have any questions yourself, or to ask any questions that you weren't able to ask during the meeting. We'll also provide our contact information shortly so that you can get in touch if you want to follow up with a question later. So first off, a couple of notes about notes and the material that we will discuss tonight. So first off, the information that we will present tonight is not completely exhaustive. We won't cover every single thing about the Summit experience or about the Summit this evening. So if you have questions, please, like I said, don't hesitate to ask. You don't need to worry about taking notes feverishly for each slide unless you want to. I send a summary or follow-up after the meeting to all of the primary unit leaders, including the slides, a link to the recording, and any documents that we discuss, so like the help form and any other documents that we discuss. And again, unit leaders and call participants are encouraged to share any information that they get from this presentation. Nothing that we will discuss tonight is secret. In fact, we want everyone to know what to expect when they get here. So we'll start off with some introductions this evening. My name is Johnny Tracy. I'm the on-site programs manager here at the Summit Bechtel Reserve, which primarily includes the Scout Camp program and the Summit Experience program. This is my third year here at the Summit. I work here full time and also oversee some of our recruiting efforts. So I may actually be at a scouting event near you sometime soon. Also with us tonight, who I'll introduce next, he's actually the last on this table, but this evening, the first in our hearts, we've got Mr. Clifton Hansen, who is a Summit Experience rover. In fact, he is our lead rover for the Summit Experience. Clifton, will you introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and tell us your favorite part about working here at the Summit?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Clifton Hansen. I am from Northern Illinois. I love it up here. And one of my favorite things about the Summit is the just range of activities we offer. And probably the biggest perk of my job, getting to climb rocks and do the zip lines for free all the time. So, yeah. And being in the beautiful state of West Virginia, of course.
Absolutely. And not only do you get to do all that cool stuff for free, we pay you to do that, right? And
yes,
we'll have
exactly.
Yeah, so we'll have a staff pitch a little later this evening too. But Clifton, I'm so happy that you were able to join us this evening. Clifton is an amazing scout and amazing staff member, and we are incredibly fortunate to have him on our team. I also want to mention this evening our registration team that handles all of our payments and reservations for our Summit activities. They can be reached at the email and phone number listed here. And again, we'll share this information, but those are helpful contact points to have. And Liam Gallagher is our program director for the Summit Experience. This is his third year as the Summit Experience program director, and we are super excited that he is back on our team. He is a great leader for the program, but he could not be with us this evening. So those are some introductions for this evening. One quick note that we like to make, it is helpful, not required, but helpful if when you're contacting us with questions about your reservation, if you include your reservation code, which is in the format that you see here, so that SE and then the date of your arrival, and then the letter appended at the end is the corresponds with the order in which you registered. So if you can include that in any contact that you make with us, that's super helpful. Like I said, if you can't, no worries. So whatever your question or whatever your need is, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will do our best to help. So let's start off talking about some of the administrative preparations that need to be made for a successful visit to the Summit Experience. After that, Clifton will talk to us about some of the great program elements that we have, and then we'll wrap up with a couple of notes on some various things. And then, like I mentioned, we'll have some times for question at the end. So this picture is from Perry Park at Perry Point. One of the best views of the summit, and one of my favorite things about the summit is the incredible views, the gorgeous sunrises, and the beautiful sunsets that we get here. So helps you appreciate our great setting here in Southern West Virginia. So let's start off with talking about some of the basics. So the Summit Experience is a program of the National Paul R. Christen National High Adventure Base. The experiences that we offer in the Paul R. Christen National High Adventure Base emphasize giving scouts the opportunity to engage with high adventure activities and apply some of those scouting skills that they have learned throughout their scouting experience. And so our goal is to challenge and inspire your scouts to continue on their scouting journey and to make the most of their scouting adventure. So we have several other programs within the Christen National High Adventure Base. I love the Summit Experience, one, because it is a program for which I'm responsible, and two, because it includes a little bit of everything. So Clifton will talk a little bit more about our program for the Summit Experience here in just a moment. But within the Summit Experience, scouts and leaders get to visit all of our on-site high adventure program venues and get to go whitewater rafting for a full day, as in not a half day, so it's actually a full day, as part of that experience. So we leverage the fantastic venues that we have here to give your scouts some great experiences here at the summit, and to give them a great either first high adventure experience or kind of capstone high adventure experience. So both things are true there. So that is a quick overview. Like I said, Clifton will talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So we do like to put a quick note in for navigating the website. So the Summit website is located at summitbsa.org. If you click on High Adventure and then View Experiences, you can see some more information about the Summit Experience. You can also scan the QR code here, but that is our online home for information about the program. Additionally, we have a Summit Experience Leader's Guide that's available, or a program supplement, that can be reached by visiting the URL or the QR code on your screen now. This guide contains more detailed information about preparing for a visit to the summit for the Summit Experience, and answers many common questions. Again, if there's something that you don't see, please feel free to reach out. So that is available for your information and for information for parents and guardians and for your scouts. So next, let's talk about the administration and paperwork. So many of you on the call are your primary unit leaders and or your unit's main contact. And so because of that, we do make sure to review the administrative aspects and making sure that everything is in order for a successful visit for your scouts. So first, we'll talk about registration and payment. So the typical schedule for registration and payment is listed here. The Summit Experience fee is $1,150 per participant, with a deposit of $250 due at the time of reservation. Subsequent payments are due on March 1st of 2024, and then November 1st of 2024, or within 30 days of your initial registration. So we've had groups register as recently as this week. That's totally fine. And we realize that not everyone is on this exact payment schedule. That said, if you have questions about your registration or about payments, please reach out to the Summit program team. The email is listed here on this slide. Our registration team of Christy Richardson and Lisa Mills will be happy to help you with any questions and answer any concerns that you have. I'm also super happy to help, although I don't have access to everything that they do. So I often have to ask for their help too. So that is a quick note on those registration and payment details. So typically the balance of the program fees is due 90 days before you arrive at the summit. And again, if you have any questions, payment and registration questions tend to be unit specific. So if you have any general questions, please feel free to throw those in the chat and we'll get started answering those here shortly. Or feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions later on. So yes, David, yes, the price for adult leaders is the same for all of the Scouting America High Adventure programs. And so that is the case for the Summit Experience. All right. So like all scouting events and activities, we do have certain rules and paperwork that we follow and collect. And so we'll talk a little bit about that here. So the first and kind of standard form that everyone expects is the Scouting America Annual Health and Medical Record, a lot of times just called the health form. For the summit, just like any long-term camp experience, the the Scouting America Annual Health and Medical Record Parts A, B, and C is required for participation. This form exists as a general Scouting America form and as a summit-specific form. You can use either form as long as parts A, B, and C are completed. Part C requires the signature of a healthcare provider, and a physical examination. And so all participants must complete that before they arrive at camp, both youth and adults. I'll talk a little bit more about one of the common questions that we get for health forms later. And then if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. We have two waivers that apply to Summit Experience participants. The first is the Summit specific waiver that is emailed to all participants. So either all participants who are adults or to the parent and or guardians of any individuals who are youth under the age of 18 to complete. This year, for the first time since the summit opened, the Whitewater waiver will be completed online. All Summit Experience treks include a full day whitewater rafting trip. And so all Summit Experience participants, or at least those who plan to participate on the whitewater trip, should complete this waiver before camp. So like I said, this is the first time we've ever had it electronically, so hopefully that will make things a little bit easier this year. Last note, which is a good practice, but slightly more rigorous than some council camps with which you may be familiar. All participating adults or anyone over the age of 18, even if they are a program participant, an 18-year-old is an adult in scouting, must show physical proof of youth protection training. The easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is to generate a roster of all of your adults who have completed youth protection training using MyDot Scouting or the troop administration software that your unit uses. And so that is, like I said, that proof of youth protection completion is required. Two other notes on this slide. First, there may be a number of medical exemptions that need to be requested by your participants. These are often very specific and unique to the participant. And so there's a form that's linked here that will also be linked in the body of the follow-up email for you to see. And we will, so I'll make sure to put that in the follow-up email to um, for your availability. Any type of medical exemption can be requested using this form, and that form is submitted directly to our health and safety team, who will review that form and then reach out to you if they have any questions. Okay. Liv, I'm putting the link to that form in the chat now. And like I said, I'll make sure to include that in the follow-up email too. So last note here is on specific dietary needs. There is a form that we have that I will send out in the follow-up email. We also, if you, many times, particularly like parents or and guardians uh, want to speak with us about um, the specific needs of their scout. If that's the case for anyone in your group, they should absolutely reach out to me or to our registration team, and we will be more than happy to help them. The dietary form that I was referencing is available at the link that I just put in the chat. But again, we know that oftentimes people have specific questions or want to do individual follow-ups there. So please don't hesitate to encourage your parents, guardians, anyone who has a concern to reach out to us so that we can make sure that we are all on the same page and prepared to keep everyone as safe as we possibly can. All right. So in general, forms, which mostly at this point is the health form that we still collect on paper, should be returned alphabetically by last name and by type. All paperwork should be completed entirely before arriving to camp. If an individual comes to camp without a complete annual health and medical record that includes parts A, B, and C, he or she will not be allowed to participate in any programs until they have a complete physical examination. And so that there are, we aren't Philmont, so we are closer to, to medical services. However, it makes everything, especially check-in, much easier if that's handled before you arrive. The last note I'll make here is on the validity of annual health and medical records. The policy of Scouting America, the policy that we follow, is that annual health and medical record forms are good 1 year through the end of the month from the time the original exam was conducted. So I have two examples here. In this case, a form that was completed or an exam that was administered and a form that was completed on July 1st, 2024 is good essentially for 13 months because it is good through the entire month of July 2025. In contrast, a form that was completed 1 day prior, so June 30th, 2024, is only good through June 30th, 2025, so 12 months rather than 13. If you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out. However, if you are on property after your health form expires, then you need a new physical exam. Again, that's the policy of Scouting America, and our health and safety team is overseen directly by the national office, and so we do follow those policies. All right. So the next thing that we will discuss is notes on arriving at the summit. So check-in is at the Piggott headquarters building, which is on site. If you've been to the Jamboree, you may know it as the Jamboree headquarters. Here at Piggott check-in, your scouts, your primary leader will come to check-in. That process is typically fairly quick and easy, especially if all of your paperwork is in order. You'll park in a nearby lot, and then after check-in, you will be given a map to Base Camp Bravo, which is where the Summit Experience program is based and where Summit Experience participants camp. The arrival window for the Sunday, the day of your arrival, is between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Although you can arrive before or after this time, we strongly encourage you to arrive at the early end of this time to ensure that you have time to check in and get your camp set up for the week. So um, that's a quick overview of the check-in and arrival process. You will be given a map to Piggott headquarters when you arrive at the gate. We also have signage from the gate to the Piggott headquarters building and parking area. Then after you check in, you'll be given a map to Base Camp Bravo, where you will be where you will meet your rover or your Summit Experience staff member, and you will get your week started. All right. So next we'll talk about swim checks, which are kind of a part of that check-in process. So as you know, in order to participate in any aquatics activities, individuals must have a completed swim test. The swim test can be administered typically by any adult who will follow the rules as they are written. However, some councils have specific rules, so you should check with your council to see who can administer the swim test. It is a misconception that the individual who administers the test must be a lifeguard. That is not true. The individual who administers the test must follow the test to the letter. That is the baseline requirement. That said, some councils have more stringent requirements, so you should check on those with your council. In general, you should come to the summit with your swim test completed. Summit Experience participants will have the option to enjoy some of our on-site aquatics activities, but the primary aquatic activity in which Summit Experience folks will participate is whitewater rafting. So make sure that you have the swim test finished before camp. Like I said, we can complete swim tests at camp. However, we typically encourage units to have this completed before they arrive. Okay. Next, we'll talk about a couple of more specific notes on food service and specific dietary needs. I threw the link in the chat a little earlier for that specific dietary needs form. Here are some notes on those, on what food service looks like for Summit Experience participants. So breakfast and dinner each day, Monday through Friday, will be served at the Fork in the Road Dining Hall, which is very convenient to in Base Camp Bravo to where you're camping. It's kind of the hub of the area. On 2 days during, or excuse me, on 1 day during the week, participants will eat lunch in the dining hall. On 1 day, participants will eat lunch on the river. So the rafting company will provide lunch that day. And then the other 3 days that you're on site doing programs, we will provide a pack out lunch. We will share additional information, including menus like what's in these pack out meals during the April webinar. However, you should expect trail food that is intended to give you and your scouts calories and energy rather than a gourmet meal. So just a heads up there. If you have been to like Philmont or Northern Tier, where they serve some of these trail type meals, that is what you should expect in that vein. Our food service staff takes allergies and specific dietary needs very seriously. So one, we are going peanut free in 2025, which is fantastic. If you, like I mentioned before, you can complete the form in the chat or reach out to us to let us know about any concerns or needs. And then you and your participants are also welcome to bring and store in our facilities any supplemental food. So for example, some scouts and adults have very specific dietary needs that we may not be able to accommodate. or that we may, or that who may benefit from bringing supplemental food. If that's the case, please don't hesitate to bring that food, and we will be happy to help you store it while you are at camp. Okay. And next, we'll talk about camping accommodations here at the summit. So we do provide dome tents. The tent pictured here is roughly 9 feet square with a, an approximately 6 foot at the center, at the dome. We are excitingly getting some new tents this year that are actually just slightly larger than these tents and are much higher quality because they have not set in the sun for many summers. So that is very exciting, but these tents are provided for Summit Experience participants. We typically provide one tent per 2 youth in your group and then one tent per adult in your group. And we also have extra tents on hand to ensure that your camping arrangements match the youth protection guidelines that we follow. So um, we provide cots for all participants. So 2 per tent for youth, 1 per tent for adults. The size of the cots or the dimensions of the cot are listed on this slide here. And they are relatively comfortable. So I've um, I've I've unfortunately slept on one in the conference room in my office several nights during my time here at the summit. So they are not bad. We provide dining canopies, which are 10 foot by 20 foot pavilions. We provide picnic tables in your campsites. Many of the showers in the Summit Experience camping areas are hot showers, are heated showers. Although we do have a couple that are cold, if you prefer that. We also have Wi-Fi in most of the Summit Center areas, and if you need to stay connected to work, cell service and Wi-Fi are pretty reliable, and I would say exceptionally reliable compared for the camping world. Someone actually asked me today about a packing list. I sent that out to him earlier, and I will send that to everyone in the follow-up email. I do want to make one quick note on that packing list. The packing list is intended to be a guide for what your scouts should bring with them or may want to bring with them. Um, that said, there may be things on there that you or your scouts don't need. And so you should work with your scouts to decide what you need and where. One other note too is that it's rarely required that anyone needs to go out and purchase a whole bunch of new gear. So don't worry too much about spending a lot of money to get the right gear. Typically, your average scouting gear will suffice, right? So no need to go buy $400 hiking boots. You're welcome to buy $400 hiking boots, but it's not required. And Clifton, I think you sent me a note about that packing list earlier. Can you share that note that you had for me?
Yeah, of course. No, I would love to. So like Johnny mentioned, the packing list is definitely more, I mean, it's a guided suggestion. But I will say about the packing list, especially if you are driving or bringing your troops trailer, and you have the extra space to allow, we are outside. Contrary to popular belief for some people, but we can encounter some pretty severe weather, and our laundry facilities can be a little bit hard to access at certain times, especially when maybe there's just some unfortunate wind that takes, that opens a couple rain flies off or gets through those tent doors. So I would say try not to overpack completely, just because that's not fun for anyone having to carry an enormously heavy duffel, but I would say maybe guide on the air of bringing, just a few extra pairs of socks, a few extra shirts, maybe one extra pair of shorts or pants. So in the circumstance of, just like daily rain or, accidents happen, it's a little better to maybe have an extra shirt and an extra pair of shorts versus going without. So I just did want to mention that as far as packing goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Clifton. And that is advice garnered from years of experience on Clifton's part. One thing that an old cub leader I knew always did was to have every scout have a complete set of clothes in a plastic bag that didn't go in their tent. And so, like Clifton said, if you've got a backup plan there, um, then then that's always helpful. So thanks so much for that, Clifton. So I did want to address a couple of questions in the chat here. And then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Clifton. So I'll start answering some of the questions in the chat when Clifton starts talking. A couple I wanted to address that were put in the chat here. Adults will have their own tent. Electricity is super easy to access. Electricity is super easy to access from all of the camping areas, and we provide extension cords too. So all you have to do is bring your CPAP, and we will help you run an extension cord to your tent. You can absolutely use the Summit cot if you bring your own tent. We typically provide 2 dining canopies per site, although we typically have a few more. Let's see. We do have a packing list that we'll send at the end, and then we do have a packing list that we'll send at the end, like I mentioned. So those are some notes on our camping areas. And actually, I forgot I had that on the next slide. So I think we've covered the dining canopies. We've covered electricity in the camping areas. So you can keep a vehicle in your site with a trailer or not. Parking is super accessible to the Summit Experience camping area. So you won't be parking a mile away or anything. You'll be parking relatively close to where you're camping. And you'll also be able to drive right next to your campsite to drop off any gear that you have. So those are some notes on the camping area there. And then we've also got one note here. So Crocs are very popular. We discourage Crocs, particularly when we're going like to program areas, and particularly not on the range and not for aerial activities. And so please don't wear Crocs in general, but please don't wear Crocs on the range. And sorry, Clifton. Clifton is a big fan of Crocs. So actually, all the rivers
Just
are.
not
So
in program areas.
not in program areas. So
Yep.
they're great for restroom and shower facilities, and but they are not great for our program. So please don't wear sandals or Crocs during activities. Okay. So those are some notes there. And just a heads up, I wore Crocs at the 2007 World Jamboree and broke my toe because I hit it on something and was wearing Crocs that did not protect my feet. So there's my personal plug for don't wear Crocs at camp. All right. So we do have I do want to announce our first winner our for our giveaway this evening. So the winner of the first drawing that were randomly chosen on our Excel randomizer here is Brian Ginsberg. So Brian Ginsberg is our winner. So Brian, if you'll either shoot me an email or a text, and with your address and your shirt size, I will get your prizes mailed out to you very shortly. Or if you don't get this or you're not able to send me a message, then I will reach out to you after. But congratulations, Brian. And we will have one more giveaway this evening here in just a few minutes. So right now, I'm going to turn things over to Clifton to talk about our program structure and notes. While Clifton's talking, I'm going to do my best to answer the questions that have been put in the chat. Like I said, if I miss you, please don't hesitate to ask again or wait till the end to ask. We'd be more than happy. We want to make sure your questions are answered, but also want to make sure we're keeping the pace with our meeting here. So with that, I will turn things over to Mr. Clifton to talk about program patrols.
All right, thank you, Johnny. So kind of how the structure of the week is going to go. All of you will be put into what we call program patrols. If you have been to Philmont, this might be described as like a sister crew, or if you have been to a jamboree, this will be a very similar concept. They can range from anywhere from 50 to 60 members. That is kind of give or take. They can be smaller or larger, but that's kind of our median there. You'll be with many different troops, troops, crews, ships, the whole nine. And all of you will be doing your activities together. So you will be camping in the same campsite. You will be following the same schedule throughout your week. Everyone's schedule will be a little bit different, but in your program patrol, those say 3 or 4 other troops that you are with, you will all be following the same schedule throughout the week and whatnot. You will all share a rover and all that jazz. And yeah, I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the summit is that the way it's able to introduce, people from all over the country and even the world sometimes, as we do have some international units throughout our summers. And yeah, I just think it's a really great way to meet new people and introduce your scouts to a different kind of program. So that's kind of how the program patrols will be laid out. Yeah, but I think we can move on to our next slide. All right, and then so each week, you will all be assigned a mountain rover. So either myself or one of the other lovely people that we will have on our seasonal staff as rovers this summer in Summit Experience. And we are kind of here to be y'all's resource and guide, and just to try to make your experience as fun and go as smoothly as possible. Um, we will be helping you through the check-in process, showing you around Base Camp Bravo, getting your tents and all that jazz worked out, and then doing your initial orientations and stuff like that. And then we will be giving you guys some direction on how to get to and from the program areas, and we will be with you the whole time. So we'll be there and more than happy to answer questions, and just kind of oversee the program. But I do want to include that we are not the youth leadership. We are not a replacement for adult or youth leadership. Um, we are just kind of there for the summit specifics, and we just like to try to give all of the youth and adults the information they can to succeed and kind of range themselves. But we are, of course, just kind of there in the background, make sure things go smoothly, guiding you guys around and trying to help in whatever way we can. Um, but yeah, I love being a rover. I think it's great. I love being able to do the activities and meet people from all over. So that's kind of the gist of the rovers. But yeah, we are all super excited. I've been in contact with the rest of the team, and we can't wait to meet all of you and see how the summer's going to go. All right, so we will get into some of these schedules, specific stuff a little bit more later. But as far as some general stuff, as the more how everyone's morning, even though you'll all be on a different program schedule, most people's mornings are all going to look the same. So each morning, um, after breakfast, which will start roughly around 6:30, promptly at 7 a.m., you will be meeting with your rover outside of the dining hall on either the porch that you can see here in the photo, or just in the grass. We will start with flags promptly at about 7 p.m. Sorry, excuse me, 7 a.m. It's been a long day of classes. Sorry, folks. But we'll have a flag ceremony. If your unit is interested, you can talk to your rover upon arrival, and we can get you all signed up for that. Um, and this is where you will meet your rover for the morning. We'll go over a topical schedule of what's going to be going on for the day, and we will head out for our activities. And also, a very important thing to note in the morning is that is when you will be getting your pack out lunches. So I know Johnny did discuss some of the dietary specifics earlier, but it is very important. So even though the rovers will be grabbing or facilitating kind of those pack outs, it is also just a part of y'all's responsibility as well, just to make sure that everyone, because we're only one person. So it is just extremely helpful if y'all can also kind of help us make sure everyone has their pack out in the mornings before we head out, just because it's a lot easier to duck into the back and grab it versus figuring out the logistics later. And also, like Johnny mentioned earlier, if you have any very specific dietary needs, you are more than welcome. I really enjoy our pack house. I have been to Filma. I have been to some of the other high adventure bases and experiences, and I can definitely say Summit packouts are definitely some of the better ones. Definitely better than the Philmonts, that's for sure. But I will say, if you have any very specific dietary needs, you are more than welcome to bring any supplementary options for that. But that's kind of how our mornings will look. Yeah. All right, so in front of you guys on the screen, this is a sample schedule. So it does list essentially all of the activities that we will be participating in throughout the week. They are not going to be in this order, as there'll be several units on site at a time, so you all won't be on the same schedule, but this is just kind of a sample. So after we leave, right around 7, we will be hiking to our program areas, getting there right around 8 o'clock. And then we will first start with a morning block of programs. So whether that be archery or rock climbing, skateboarding, some of the other various morning programs, and those will go anywhere from 11 to about noon. And then usually during that middle afternoon, we'll have anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the activity that day for our lunch. That's just a nice time to rest, recharge a little bit, and then usually promptly right about 1:30, we will start our afternoon block of program, whether that be Alexander's Eagle Flight, formerly the Big Zip, mountain biking, barrels, which is our firearms department. And we will do our afternoon programs. Those will last till right about 4 p.m. They can end sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little, just depending on the activity. But and then after that, we have our evening block, which will of course follow with dinner. And then in the evening, we are going to have a range of activities. We have some pre-planned. We are still working on making sure you guys are entertained and having just in the works for some really exciting things in the evenings. But that's kind of how your daily schedules are going to go. On your arrival day, we will be having an orientation in the late afternoon, early evening. And then we will also be having a closing program as well with a fire and some other fun shenanigans as well. So that is kind of the rough outline of what y'all schedule. On your arrival day, we will be giving you guys a more detailed one, but yeah, that's just kind of an overview. And now I'd love to talk about some of our amazing programs that we offer on site. So first up, we actually have a couple of my favorite right here. We have our rocks. So that's going to feature rock climbing, rappelling, and also the leap of faith. A very nice, convenient, and efficient way that with our rocks program, we use true blue self-belaying systems. So they are incredibly risk mitigated and they are super convenient as to not have a ton of belaying. And I love them. I think they give people a lot of confidence and they're super convenient. We have our Alexander's Eagle Flight. This is a 3,100-foot zip line. It is definitely probably one of our star attractions at the summit. Over my few years working and a couple of jamborees, I've been on it a little over 30 times. So I might be biased, but it's definitely one of my favorite activities. Definitely a fan favorite. And the views from up there and the launch are absolutely gorgeous. We have our canopies, which is our action point area. So it's a super close walk back to camp, which is a great after doing that. It is smaller zip lines in the treetops. So you'll be zip lining from tree to tree. It offers some great views and a very unique experience to other zip lines that you might have encountered at other high adventure bases or some other tourism resorts that you might have visited. We have our low gear, which is in the Harvey Mountain Bike Shop. This is actually just a very short, practically a skip and not really even a jump from camp. So it's super convenient to Base Camp Bravo. And I hear a lot of good about it. I have enjoyed it in the past, but it's super popular. It is nice and shady, which is super awesome. And it's a great facility and really builds confidence, and a lot of people enjoy it. We have our hunters and education and later shot, which we will go a little bit more in depth later. But it is air conditioned, so that is a great perk to those programs. And the people who work it are super knowledgeable about all of the things in that realm of outdoor recreation. So definitely a wonderful program, and the air conditioning is a major, major perk. We have our barrels, which will offer our shooting sports and archery facilities. So we offer many different kinds of archery, static, 3D archery where you'll be shooting at different animal targets in the woods, as well as our different firearms. So those are always lots of fun. We get a lot of compliments about those, and definitely I have had lots of fun on the range as well. And no Crocs, please, on the range. Just another little asterisk. And then we have the park. I know this can definitely, on paper, seem a little hesitant or scary to some folks, but I will say I have enjoyed it, never having been on a skateboard until I started a few summers ago. And I think this is definitely one of the most fun experimental areas. There's a lot of people who have never done it, but they went out and tried it, and they actually had a really wonderful time. And it's a very cool facility. It is one of the biggest skate parks in the country. So, and great views. It's amazing views. It is on our Thrasher Mountain. So from the corner of the skate park, you can get some really gorgeous views of our property. And then just behind Thrasher Mountain, about a quick 10-minute hike, we have the tracks, which offers our BMX biking programs. This is definitely for our adrenaline junkies, but it is just awesome to watch. I'm not the most agile, but it definitely is fun to try out. And I have seen lots of people who have never gone into BMX. They shred those tracks like nothing else. So I definitely encourage you all to try. And then you'll be, depending on your schedule, you might be starting, ending, but all of you will also be participating in the New River Gorge whitewater rafting experience. That is now a full day. Um, it used to be a half day a few summers ago, but it is now a full day. The New River Gorge is definitely one of my favorite things about being uh, in Southern West Virginia and at the summit. It's an absolutely gorgeous property. I love that national park. I miss it every day when I'm back home in Illinois. And is definitely a scout and fan favorite alike. We get tons of compliments. I hear such amazing, thrilling stories. People really, really enjoy it. We, as a staff, were able to do it last year towards the end of the season, which was a really wonderful time. Depending on the water levels during your visit, you will be encountering anywhere from 3 to 4s. I would say it's mostly 3s, but depending on the water levels, you might be encountering a couple 4s. But it is definitely a very great and fun experience for all, and I definitely encourage you to try it, especially if you have not done it before, and it gets you into the national park. So I definitely can recommend the whitewater rafting 100%. And then also this will mostly be in the evenings or at other designated times, but we also have our Goodrich Lake West. Um, this will offer activities such as like paddleboarding, canoeing, kayaking, and it's just a super nice way to spend an evening, maybe on a kayak, canoeing. A lot of units have a really great time with it, and it's not too bad of a hike. So I think that kind of about wraps it up. But of course, feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions. But that's just kind of a general overview of some of the activities y'all will be doing. And then also, we have our Summit Center. So a lot of these will be available in the evenings or at other kind of designated times. But we have a smaller skate park, as well as the same mountain bikes courses that you guys will be doing as a part of your program. There is also a smaller BMX course available as well at certain times. We have our sustainability treehouse, which is a very cool museum exhibit, almost like an art installation as well. It's very interesting. The staff there usually know a lot about it, and it's super interactive, which I have always enjoyed in my previous years, and it can offer some really wonderful views, especially at the top of it. And it is a completely sustainable building run on solar power, which is super exciting to see. Like I mentioned earlier, we have aquatics activities at Goodrich Lake. We have our Boulder Cove. This is primarily used by our Scout Camp and some of our third-party programs, but it is also a way for you to get in some extra climbing in if aerial sports is your favor. We also have our Legacy and Gateway zip lines. These are some smaller scale zip lines. Maybe not as thrilling as Alexander's Eagle Flight, but they definitely offer some gorgeous views and are very fun, and maybe a great starter if you aren't super keen on doing big zip. But I would say if you're nervous to do the zip lines, I would definitely encourage you to do them because they are one of my favorite aspects of the program. Um, and we also have our Appalachian Celebration. This is a camp-wide festival. We have all sorts of different activities, We have branding, we'll have live music, we have some historical exhibitors that come in and bring in different activities for your scouts and leaders alike to enjoy. We have been historically doing it on Mondays, and it is a great time in the evening to kind of celebrate just the summit and the state and just have some extra fun. So
All right. Thanks so much, Clifton. I really appreciate that. And hopefully, I've done a decent job keeping up, and I will get back with those, responding to those questions. Um, very soon. So we'll come back to that here in a second. I do want to take a second to talk about Hunter Education, one of our programs here at the Summit. So the Hunter Education program is part of the Summit experience that includes that Hunter Education training along with a visit to our virtual skills center for laser shot. We Excuse me. So we do have some specific instructions for any scouts or leaders who want to get a certificate that they can exchange for a hunting license in all 50 states. So in the follow-up email or early next week, I will provide detailed instructions for individuals who want to pursue that. There are some things that have to be completed beforehand. Those are relatively easy, and we will do our best. Excuse me, and so that can be completed before camp, and your scouts can um, get that knocked off and enjoy hunting. And we need hunters. I have hit 2 deer in the past year. And so hopefully a few more hunters out there will help thin out that population there. I'll send out those instructions later. And now I'll turn it back over to Mr. Clifton to talk about some general scouting awards that we have that can be earned as part of our program and a couple of Summit specific awards. Clifton?
all right. So at the summit, we offer the opportunity to complete several different awards. Just a couple more broad ones that you probably have seen at your council camp, or maybe some other Scouting America venues. There's the Stand Up Paddleboarding Award that I have completed. It was a very fun time. We have our Whitewater Rafting Award. Um, and we also have the Hunter's Education courses that we had just discussed earlier. And then as far as the Summit specific awards, and the ones that I have more experience with, we have our Summit Duty to God Award. Um, this is usually completed with the guidance of one adult leader and your crew's chaplain's aide. It doesn't always have to be the chaplain aide that is your back home one. A lot of units will assign one for the troop for their track, but this has been enjoyed by many. It is pretty simple to complete, and it can be done. It's kind of an asynchronous award for say, so it can be done, in the morning, maybe during lunches, in the evenings. So yeah, we will be sending out the materials, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And your rovers will also be familiar with some of the requirements and stuff like that. We have our Summit Sustainability Award, which has been enjoyed by also many scouts through my years. It definitely kind of guides on some sustainability principles that that Scouting America follows, and the Summit also tries to educate on as well. Super easy to complete. And if you have any questions or need any additional resources while you're on site, your rover or one of our staff will be more than happy to help you with the Sustainability Award. And then also the Triple Crown and Grand Slam. If you need any information on that, we would be more than happy to connect you or give you anything that you may need for your Triple Slam or Triple Crown or anything like that for your high adventure experience. But yeah, that's something you can complete here at Summit as far as the Triple Slam and all that goes. But of course, we'll be sending out all of that information, all those forms out as well. And we should have some available on site just in case you don't have access to a printer. All right, moving on to some of our theme days. While we definitely think that our programs are super fun, we just want to pack in as much fun and as much morale into our daily programs as we can for y'all. Um, so this year we're going to be introducing a couple themes days and maybe some other special events down the road. But kind of as a constant throughout the seasons, on Monday we are going to have West Virginia is Best Day. So we encourage you to either wear your best West Virginia or West Virginia inspired gear or gear from your favorite state. Even though I am from Illinois, I love several states, including states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. So you might find me wearing West Virginia stuff, maybe some Philadelphia Eagles stuff, go Birds, or maybe one of my favorite national park shirts from the New River Gorge just down the road. But we encourage you all to participate if you can. You definitely do not have to feel pressured to buy anything. Feel free to borrow something from a friend, family member. But it's definitely just a fun way to kind of boost morale a little bit and have some kind of camp belonging introduced. And then on Wednesdays, we'll also be having Hawaiian Shirt Day. So wear your sharpest Hawaiian or floral shirt all day long. I love a good Hawaiian shirt, so I definitely will cruise around the vintage stores in the area looking for all sorts of Hawaiian and floral shirts. So yeah, it's definitely a fun way. We did this last year. A lot of people had fun with it. Um, so yeah, they're definitely not required, but encouraged if y'all feel so inclined. So hopefully we'll see you in some state gear or Hawaiian shirts when we see you at the summit this summer.
All right, fantastic. Thanks so much, Clifton, for telling us a little bit about the program and what to expect there. There's one question specifically related to program that has come up a couple of times that I want to review really quickly. So I've had some questions about merit badge requirements or completions, things like that. Daniel also asked about one of the camping merit badge requirements. If you're familiar, there are, I believe, either 5 or 6 options for camping merit badge requirement 9. And for that requirement, your scouts will do 2 of those things, which is the requirement. So one is they will go on a float trip that counts for camping merit badge requirement 9, and then they will also do greater than a 30-foot rappel. And so if you have some scouts who are looking to earn camping merit badge, then they can complete both things they need to complete for requirement 9 of that merit badge while they're here at the Summit Experience. Right. So next we'll talk about some physical preparation considerations. So the programs that we offer include a significant amount of walking and also include some physically challenging aspects. So here is our advice. So one, start preparing now if you haven't already. So go on hikes individually or as a group. The hillier the terrain, the better generally. And then we also so practice hiking, do cardio, resistance training, whatever feels good. Carry a day pack when you hike. Running, biking, any aerobic exercise is good. So and then so as a note, one thing that we want to emphasize and highlight here is that any participant, youth or adult, who does not presently meet the height weight recommendations outlined on the BSA annual health and medical record should either consult with a healthcare provider to develop a safe weight loss plan or reach out to Summit Health Lodge at scouting.org. So I'm going to throw that in the chat here too. So let's see. Oh, let me make sure I do that for everybody. So Summit Health Lodge at scouting.org. And so there are a number, Karen asked a question like, are we firm on the height weight recommendation? So the answer is that varies by person. So there are other considerations that are taken into account, including any health conditions that the individual has, I'm not qualified to make those determinations, but our health and safety team, overseen by our paramedic and supervised by an emergency room medical doctor, is, and they will make those determinations. So I would say, just from what I have observed, typically if someone is close and or has the right, has any health conditions under control or doesn't have any other extenuating health conditions, then the answer is typically yes. And Karen mentioned, so asking because we had an adult get turned away at Philmont. So Karen, that's what we absolutely want to avoid here. And the easiest way to do that is for individuals to reach out to our health and safety team before camp. Um, before camp so that they can discuss their specific situation with our health and safety team. So that's a great note. We don't want to turn away anyone for not falling within those height weight guidelines. However, the Summit Experience is a high adventure program. You do high adventure activities, and so because of that, our health and safety team will want to talk with the individual and or their parents or guardians if they fall outside of the chart. So if you're looking at the chart and you're just like, oh, well, I have two people in my group who don't fall within the guidelines here. That's okay. That doesn't mean they're automatically disqualified or that we'll turn them away when they get here. That does mean that they should think about reaching out to our health and safety team beforehand so that they can discuss any questions they have and make a plan for participation. Like I said, sometimes that plan is just like, yeah, you may not be able to participate in this activity, or you're 5 pounds over, it's fine. Again, that's I. Whenever I'm asked to weigh in on specific situations, I don't because I'm ultimately not the one making those determinations. Our health and safety team is. Okay. So that's, like I said, we don't want to turn anyone away. We want everyone to be able to participate. So please reach out beforehand if there is a question. We'll make a quick plug for Scout Connection. So if you have any extra room in your unit, or if you are going during a week that where one of your scouts isn't able to participate, Scout Connections, available at the QR code or URL here, is a great way to connect with the unit who needs a spot or to connect a scout who needs a spot with another unit. You're also welcome to reach out to me individually, and I can help make those connections too. So that's just a quick plug for that program. Next, I want to turn it over to Clifton to talk about working on the Summit staff and to tell you a little bit about what that's like. Clifton?
Yeah, of course. So kind of like the summit experience, the summit being a summit staff, we are always looking for and offer a range of different opportunities and activities and whatnot. One of the things I love about my job specifically is that I kind of get to do a little bit of everything our property offers and kind of get to do a little bit of everything. But we aren't just looking for rovers or some of the other common positions that you might be thinking of, like lifeguard or merit badge counselor, as far as scout camps. We are always looking for archery and firearms instructors as well. We also offer on site training for those, as well as several of our other programs. We're always looking for COPE people to help out with our different aerial sports programs, aquatics, of course, for our lakefront, and some of the other aquatic activities we offer. But yeah, there's such a range of, no matter your skill set or what your passion is. I mean, outside of scouting, I am a horror movie fanatic and work in haunted attractions while going to school and getting my bachelor's degree. So, we take all types, all sorts of people. We love having just whatever corner of the world you're from, we love having you here. I have absolutely loved my experience at the summit, even with some of those 85-degree days and those rainy mornings. Being in the state of West Virginia, it's such a gorgeous area. Tons of access to tourism opportunities, shopping, amazing restaurants, and then also just the connections and the people that I've met. I've met some of my very best friends through the summit. I've met some amazing and other wonderful individuals, and it's just given me a lot of experience and also given me some professional connections as well. And some of the other career options I've pursued and looking to with school and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely cannot recommend it enough. It's paid, your meals are covered for. Um, Not to knock the tents that we provide, but I will say the staff tents are just a little smidge nicer with those concrete platforms and the direct electricity hooked up. So we have some pretty great accommodations, amazing resources for staff. But yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. I love it, and especially not having to worry about lodging or food is a great perk. So if your scout maybe is looking for a place to work, I think it's a great place to get started, even whether it's for a summer or, you know, multiple like me. I think it's definitely something to recommend or look into.
All right, thanks so much, Clifton. And Clifton, I think at this point is one of our longest tenured staff members, not the longest, but one of our longest tenured staff members. And so he is a great person to talk about what it's like to staff here. And I spent 13 summers on the staff of my home camp, and I've been here for three. So summer camp is a fantastic opportunity for anyone. All right. So next, we are heading toward the end of our meeting here. So um, we we do want to talk about the custom crew shirts that are available for units to order. They can be ordered at the link here. I believe all of the primary unit contacts received an email recently also about custom crew shirts. Those are available, and there are other options besides this neat plain white shirt here. And so I encourage you to check those out. And if you are interested in ordering, make sure you order those by the 6th of April, as that is when the order form closes. Okay. Like I said, I'll send this out to everybody so everyone will have that. Again, wouldn't be a scouting presentation without a plug for the trading post. And so you can scan the QR code here to visit the Summit retail websites. So you can order all year round. So you can come to the Summit ready to go with Summit gear or wait until you get here. All right, so I've got a couple of questions that have been asked, and I want to answer those. So right now, if you want to type in those questions into the chat, I'll look at those and I'll answer those verbally starting here in just a moment. So I saw a couple of folks ask about travel arrangements. So we have some travel recommendations from the Charleston Yeager Airport that are listed on page 15 of the Leader's Guide. Units who fly in will rent a vehicle, and we have a specific arrangement with the Beckley Enterprise that we have a specific arrangement with the Beckley Enterprise on Harper Road where you can drop off a vehicle when you arrive and then get your vehicle when you leave. So that way you don't have to pay for the entire week. So you don't have to pay for the entire duration of your stay. And so that is an option. If you have questions about transportation, like from the airport or from the train station, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be happy to help with those specific arrangements. We do have folks who arrive by plane, train, and automobile for the Summit experience, and so everyone's transportation needs will be a little different. So some folks ask if they can add an extra day before or after their experience. Yes, you can. You do have to call Christy Richardson, our registrar, at the number listed here to make those arrangements. I'll also include her contact information. It'll be in the slides, and then it'll be in the follow-up information, so you can reach out to Christy if you want to add that extra day. Like we mentioned before, you can bring your own tents and cots, so that is absolutely fine. We do provide them, but you're welcome to do that. So like we've mentioned a couple of times during our meeting, adults are full participants in the Summit experience, but participation in any activity for youth or adults is optional. Like I mentioned before, we do have a couple of alternative program options, but typically Typically, scouts and leaders participate in the program opportunity that they're assigned. I'll give one more plug for the Wheels programs. So, skateboarding and BMX are often the activities for which people have the most hesitation because they are the least familiar. I will say I'll never forget the very first program patrol kind of debrief closing ceremony that I ever attended. I can't remember if Clifton was a river, but I think he was. I counted, and it was a small group because it was the first week. And I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 out of 22 participants said that wheeled sports activities like skateboarding and BMX were their favorite thing of the week. And so we strongly encourage everyone to participate in everything. However, that isn't everything is optional, challenge by choice. And so if you want to make other alternative arrangements, you can reach out. Like I said, those options are very limited. And so, but you can reach out to discuss what that looks like. So I had someone ask this question during the chat. So summit experience units um, do not have to have crew members who are trained in wilderness first aid. That's not a requirement because you have access to our on-site um, health services here at the summit. So you have access to EMTs, paramedics, and occasionally an MD, our MD who supervises our entire health and safety operation. So that is so you do not have to have wilderness first aid training. Of course, more training is never a bad thing. So our next our next webinar will be Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, same time. I'll send a meeting reminder to all of the unit contacts like I did now. Please, please, please feel free to share that meeting invite with anyone who might benefit from participating. I've had a couple of questions about how the meeting recording will be shared, and so I share in the follow-up email a link that is that is hosted by Zoom with the recording and a transcript of the chat. Later, our media and marketing supervisor will add the recording of the webinar to YouTube and to our website. But the quickest way that you will get the recording is the Zoom link that I send. If you don't get that, you're welcome to reach out to me to request that. My email is being entered into the chat as we speak. And so please don't hesitate to reach out if you need that information. Like I said, I've got a couple of questions. I am going to do our final giveaway. And so that way anyone who is needs to head out can go ahead and do that. So our second winner this evening is Joan Loper. So Joan Loper, you are the second winner. So Joan, if you will reach out to me by email or shoot me a text, with your address and your shirt size, I will get your prizes in the mail to you here soon. So congratulations, Joan. And we will have more giveaways on the next webinar, so make sure to tune in. All right, so here are those key contacts again with my information. I'm going to, at this point, say if you have the information that you need and you are good, you're more than welcome to head out now. I am going to go back up a little bit and answer the questions that have been put in the chat. And if I missed anything, please don't hesitate to let me know. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. If you're departing now, have a great evening. We'll see you soon. Otherwise, I'm going to look at these questions and start answering those. So let's see. So will there be time for scouts to hike, visit the New River Gorge Bridge? So the answer is possibly. So you can build that into your own unit's travel itinerary, or we actually have that available as like an alternative activity a couple of times during the week. So yes, you'll paddle some on the upper and lower New on that full day rafting trip. Someone asked the class of rapids earlier. Typically, the highest rapids you'll experience are category 4 plus, so in that neighborhood, so class 4 plus, and so with most being like 3 to 4. So Reno, we don't, you don't have to, let me rephrase it. So a service project is not baked in as part of the summit experience. However, we do have service projects that you can complete while you're at camp. So you can ask your rover about those or reach out to me individually, and I'll be happy to help you set that up. Let's see. So yes, we do have on-site parking, like I mentioned earlier. So you can leave a car in your sites, and parking is very convenient to the camping area. Robert asked what time checkout is on Saturday. Yeah, so Robert, typically early. So we'll have some units who are ready to get out very quickly or have an early flight. You're welcome to leave whenever it's convenient for you. We do serve breakfast on Saturday. So we run the full spectrum. Sometimes we have units that leave at 4:30 a.m. Sometimes we have units that leave at noon. It's up to you, and I know that varies depending on your unit. So you can make that determination for your unit. Let's see. So Mike asked the specific day you'll go whitewater rafting. So Mike, you will know that when your unit and program patrol are scheduled. However, I cannot tell you that for sure right now. So you will know that in advance, but you won't know that right now. I don't know that right now. um, Let's see. Someone asked if the trading post takes credit cards. Yes, absolutely. We take all major credit cards, Apple Pay, Google Pay, cash, check, money order, any of the above. Let's see. All right. Ron asks, um, are there height or weight restrictions for any of the activities? So beyond the general Scouting America height weight restrictions, we do have one restriction that um, is generally applicable or that we should mention. So for our aerial sports program, so climbing, zip lining, rappelling, the maximum weight is 250 pounds, and that's to ensure that participants can wear the gear safely. Otherwise, there are no additional height weight restrictions. Mel asks, is there a time to go back and do the activity again or just during that time slot? So Mel, for the most part, once you've completed an activity, you won't go back to that specific venue again. However, let's say your scout really enjoyed climbing. There will be open climbing during the evenings. If they enjoyed skateboarding and BMX, we have that open in the evening programs, and scouts can just show up and participate. Same for mountain biking. So really, nearly, I would say, actually, I think all of our areas, except for whitewater rafting, can be done again, just usually in a different venue. So if your scouts really liked the virtual range, they can go back and visit that during open program in the evenings. They can do zip line again. They can do climbing again. So they can do things again if they enjoyed them, but they may be in a different venue. That's a great question. All right. Let's see. Someone asked about, I think that I missed, about a crew leader for the youth. Yes, we do encourage units, even though they'll be a part of a bigger program patrol, to elect or select a crew leader for the week. And we'll talk a little bit more about those leadership roles in our next webinar. But yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question there. Robert, and we definitely want to encourage our youth to be leaders there. Let's see. So we had a question about if a scout or adult is under 250 pounds but over BMI, can they still be turned away? So typically no. Yeah, typically just no. So 250 pounds is the limit for those aerial sports activities. If the participant has been allowed to participate in the Summit Experience program and they weigh under 250 pounds or under, then they can still typically participate in those aerial sports activities. All right. So we'll be happy to stick around and answer questions for another couple minutes. Please feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening if you've got the information that you need. Otherwise, we will see you at the next one, and we'll look forward to seeing you this summer. Let's see. So Karen asks about medical exemption form. So um, let's see. So Karen, those medical exemptions encompass both exemptions from required things that have to be done to participate medically, but are, I would say, are more commonly submitted for individuals who need specific considerations. I think I glanced at but missed a question about, it might have been you, Karen, asking about a participant who has type 1 diabetes. Um, and so that would be a good thing, perhaps, to contact that our health and safety team before camp, just to make sure any questions they have are answered, and any questions that the participant who has type 1 diabetes might have. So, for example, one question might be, can I um, um, carry a device or snacks with me, right, to make sure that my sugar levels are regulated, and so that should be fine. So, and typically, if it's well controlled and with no limitations, having it on the health form is adequate. That said, I will always encourage people to reach out to Summit Health Lodge at scouting.org first, because um, because we want to make sure that we have everyone on the same page there. So that's that. And if I hope I answered that, Karen. But if not, feel free to ask a follow-up question or reach out to me. Let's see. So Robert asked a question about mixed gender groups. So two troops attending under the same registration, two female leaders, two male leaders. Do we need to register separately? So Robert, my guess is that you probably already registered as one troop, or one unit, I should say, um, to come to the summit experience. That's fine. You don't need to separate that registration. Um, you don't need to separate that registration. You can register all together. Suzanne asked a good follow-up question about, will all female units be with other all female groups? So there may be some weeks, Suzanne, where that's possible. There may be some weeks where that is not possible. Once we have rosters, we will evaluate like which groups need to go where. I'll also send out an option for folks to request certain arrangements. So, for example, if you're coming as a boy unit and a girl unit, and you want to camp together, we'll make sure that we accommodate that. We typically do that by default, and then um, the but some units who are linked units want to camp separately, so we can make that work too. So you don't need to do any make any changes to your registration with the summit here. And then once we have names entered on rosters, we'll start actually forming the program patrols and groups. And then we'll have a better or a clearer idea of what will look like proceeding there. Let's see. So there is no hiking trail that connects the summit to the New River Gorge Bridge. And so that's typically there are some fantastic hikes around the bridge. One that we do quite often is Long Point. And so that or visiting the visitor center for the bridge are the best way, in my opinion, to experience the bridge.
If I could chime in really quick on
Oh
the
yeah, of
bridge.
course, yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
will say I can put it in the chat just so people have it correct, but the Canyon Rim Visitor Center is probably the most popular, and it's the actual visitor center that is sponsored and staffed by the national park. So the Canyon Rim Visitor Center, that's the most popular. It's super easy to get to. It is literally just you hop on the highway from the summit. It's about 15 minutes down the road. But yes, like Johnny said, the Long Point Trail is also super popular. But if you're looking for the visitor center, look for the Canyon Rim Visitor Center. Super easy, bathrooms, free parking, super accessible. But I know
Yes,
there's been
absolutely.
some people have gotten lost in the past when I've told them about the national park. So the Canyon Rim Visitor Center would be the easiest way to access the national park.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the Canyon Rim Visitor Center is fantastic. They actually renovated it recently, and so it's very informative, amazing views. Great short hikes. There are a lot of stairs, like 168 stairs or something, but stairs build character. The Long Point hike is you can find information about that easily. Like I said, we'll have that as an alternative option occasionally throughout the week. That's an amazing hike. I actually had never done. I'd sent people there many times, including Clifton, and never done it myself until after this summer. And I've done it probably 2 dozen times since the end of the summer because it's that enjoyable. Um, and so there are plenty of opportunities to see and enjoy the bridge. So thanks so much for that, Clifton. Yeah, Clifton has definitely led that trek out there plenty of times. Um, let's see. So Chris asked a question about the ATV experience. So Chris, because that's separate, I answered that question, but if you'll shoot me an email, I'll connect you with the program manager for the ATV experience. I know that you stay in campsites with electricity for several nights. I know there may be 1 or 2 nights where that's not the case. I don't want to give you bad information. So Chris, if you'll shoot me an email, we'll make sure to get you the answer to that question. And yes, Travis, we do. Electricity is super accessible to all of the camping areas. Um, excuse me. So if you need power for a CPAP, it will be accessible, and we provide extension cords. So, no, if you're flying in to join us, no need to pack an extension cord and carry on there. All right. So like I said, we'll continue to hang out for a few more minutes. If you have any more questions, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening. All right. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. Like I said, we'll hang out for another couple minutes. If you have any questions, so please feel free to stick around. So Lynn, yes, we did record the webinar, and we'll send that out here within the next couple of days, and then it will also be put on our website soon. Let's see. So, okay, so Leslie asked a question about where to keep that extra set of clothes. So yeah, I think keeping that extra set of clothes in like a plastic Ziploc bag in your tent is totally adequate. So I think the important part is have a plan for if clothes get wet, and you have a plan for dry clothes. So that's the long and short of it. That one is not a super big deal, but like I said, Clifton has seen many times where that would have benefited somebody while we dried the rest of their clothing, maybe. And so we encourage that. But if your scouts don't bring that extra set of clothes, we will persevere. So no worries there. Just a recommendation. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We really appreciate it. Clifton, thank you so much for co-hosting with me this evening. I love not being the only one who gets to talk. So super happy to have you. Thank you, everybody, for the great questions. We really appreciate that, and we are looking forward to seeing you very soon. We're going to log off now, but if there's anything that we can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out, and hope you have a fantastic evening. Thanks so much, everybody.